being provocative there. Seuss did write an entire minstrel show in college and performed the main character in full blackface. And many academics have argued that the Cat in the Hat is inspired by sort of the blackface aesthetic.
Cat in the Hat had so much swag. I am not surprised. Say black. He's just so cool on every single level. He's funny, he's sexy, and he dresses well. And he's famous.
What do you think, though, Josh? If he's so opposed to fascism, if he was against anti-Semitism, he's against Hitler, but was homophobic, would you think, well, do you know what, he defeated malaria with a cartoon, I'll let that one slide, or would you think homophobic? I mean, I haven't found any homophobia.
It's just, I think if you look at the Grinch, I think the Grinch is pretty gay. Hates kids and lives, like, in a big mountain, keeps his money to himself.
Shit, the Grinch is gay, I never saw it.
The Grinch is really gay. But, no, I don't know, with homophobia and stuff, when it's anything in the past, I do kind of let it go. But the stuff that he did is really intense. Like, as I said, like, that was more genocide than just racism. So it wasn't like, yeah, if it was a little bit more toned down offensive, it might be easier to be like, okay, well, it was, 40, 60 years ago, but it was pretty bad. I don't know if it's forgivable.
Just as a summing up, I will just quickly show the other cartoon because it's interesting for a very specific reason. So he was also always on the attack against the Japanese and the Nazi enemy. But interestingly, what do we notice about the cartoon we're looking at? What we're seeing, listeners, is a what have you done today to help save your country from them? On the left is Adolf Hitler. On the right, who is that? Is it a specific Japanese emperor? Is it just Japanese people per se? Does the them, does that mean the peoples, or is it like the grouped pronoun for the two characters? What I find interesting is we laugh at Hitler, who Seuss, interestingly, always portrayed as a sort of cold, clinical, bookkeeping type evil person. We're not slating Germans in that picture, we're slating Hitler, whereas when we move over to the right of the picture, it's more a sort of racial mockery rather than an ad hominem attack on a particular leader, and I find that very telling.
I reckon he's had his heart broken by a Japanese person. I reckon he wanted to shag a Japanese person, she turned him down, and now he's just taking his wrath out on the whole race.
Who, Hitler or Seuss? That could explain Hitler's it could explain a lot, couldn't it?
Personal revenge body, it really goes very, very far.
Did he take the dumping well? Not really, he just invaded Poland. Alright, we should move on to envelope number 3 because I'm afraid the temperature might get turned up even more.
Dr. Seuss was a misogynist, creating an imaginative world almost entirely free of women.
The world of Dr. Seuss is a world without women, or the comedy circuit is also known. The world of Dr. Seuss is a world without women. Dr. Seuss largely backtracked and apologised for the racism in his past. Not enough, I will admit, but he did do some good measures. But he would never ever back down, not one semicolon, not one full stop on anything to exceed his senses.
Why?
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 Well, look on.
I was going to say, because even in, was it 91 that he died?
Yeah.
He was still pretty sexy then, really. Like,
The shoulder pads have been and gone, Josh. Come on. Feminism was the second tsunami of feminism by then.
That's funny though, that to me is like, whoa, I don't expect to know that. That to me isn't even around 80, to be honest.
It's not, but the thing is, the women that he were with, it's not like they were oppressed, stay-at-home women. He married women who were educated and actually worked.
True. But the issue here is we're dealing with a children's author. This is what I have an issue with. I've got a 5-year-old daughter, and I've bought the Dr. Seuss books in preparation for this, and you're reading them and laughing. Well, they're not going to get finished. Because, I mean, you're educating children, and a 5-year-old girl is reading this. I've got an issue.
I just don't know if a man who's kind of heralding Japanese genocide, I wouldn't expect him to be a feminist.
True.
But the thing is, Dr. Seuss didn't even like kids.
Okay.
He didn't have any kids, and he didn't like kids, and he didn't even want to be a children's writer. It's actually one of his wives that suggested that he became a kids' book writer. So he didn't do it because he likes kids. He did it because he knew it'd make him money. Just like Harold Shipman was a doctor, but he ended up killing his patients.
Just like I'm a stand-up. Come on, you don't fucking like stand-up. How long have you been stand-up? Let me ask you again in 3 years. Do I want another conservatory? Yes. Do I want to be spat at a Reading Festival? No. I'm only joking, I love stand-up. In one of his first pieces as an editor of his student magazine, he wrote, "For what is more pleasant than to see 5 husky college men make some silly girls realize how insignificant and helpless they are."
Oh, now we've turned a corner now.
I didn't know if you might find it slightly arousing, Joanna.
Not for me, Rob. Not for me.
Make me look like a game of Club.
Thanks for me. Funny because again, like I said, whatever affects my rapping, now I think now I know who I am.
It sounds predatory, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's more than predatory. Yeah. It's dark, and I guess that is what predatory is.
But it's more than it's more than sexist, that, isn't it, Ola? It's sort of.
I think he's massively insecure. People like Beatrice Potter were like going viral. There was viral in those days. But like,
unless it was myxomatosis, because there's a lot of rabbits.
All right, we might be ready to.
Insecure he was that like female writers were doing so well, and he got rejected like 60 times. So he was just being a squinny little bitch, and like the only way to make himself feel better is by putting women down. Squinny is a very Portsmouth word. I don't know if you know what it means.
I like it though, I'm stealing that. Women rarely appear in his work, and when they do, they're nearly always vacuous, devious, or stereotypes. The guy was writing for children, Josh. He has a background in propaganda, making us use malaria medication or hate Japanese people. He knows what he's doing. Do you think he may have set back the cause of women in the USA? Because there would have been a generation of girls reading in the 50s and 60s that would have taken this stuff in.
Maybe. I now know that this is probably one of the reasons subconsciously why I didn't read it. Because if there's not a female lead, I'm not bothered. Like, that's with everything. Even my action films, it's always like, like Alien and stuff. But I don't know, yeah, he just doesn't seem like a good guy. I don't know what to say. He seems like a right bastard. But he did like his first wife. He spoke to her a lot about his books, and she like edited them and stuff like that for him. So he obviously trusted certain women in his life, and she helped him with his work. And then after he died, his second wife was the one who was like, okay, you can make the books into films and stuff. So
okay, agreed. They were a dynamic duo. They worked together. She was his first reader, and he took her opinion seriously. But is that not all the more shocking to hear her suicide note then, given he was already banging his next wife at this point? This is the suicide note. Dear Ted, what has happened to us? I don't know. I feel myself in a spiral, going down, down, down into a black hole from which there's no escape, no brightness. And loud in my ears from every side I hear failure, failure, failure. Now, she did have physical ailments, but this sounds like someone who feels like they've failed at something else. I love you so much. I am too old and enmeshed in everything you do and you are, and I cannot conceive of life without you. This is a woman who fears being abandoned. My going will leave quite a rumour, but you can say I was overworked and overwrought. She put in a suicide note, just pretend I had depression, basically. Your reputation with your friends and fans will not be harmed. Sometimes think of the fun we had through all the years. Yeah, while he's balls deep in the next wife in 2 months. I mean, that's like, what you're saying is totally true. Like, he academically respected her, but threw her away like nothing.
Oh, please don't make it sound like I'm not.
No, John, no. You make an interesting point. He valued the intellect and creativity of women, but didn't respect their claims on equality. That is more fucked up than the Henry VIII position of, well, women are just
I agree. Like, do you reckon he just used her then? Just a massive user.
Well, she got ill as well, didn't she? And then like started sleeping in a different bedroom. And I think he was just thinking with his dick. And then once he couldn't have sex, he moved on to someone else.
He needed a bum finger. He would have been fine.
Yeah.
No, she would need a bumping gun.
So we've said earlier that under pressure during the 70s, 80s and 90s, he did start to rewrite his books and take out some of the more flagrant racist stuff, the yellow skin, the silly caricatures, but he would not budge on things like this. So here we are. There was a line that feminists wanted. Say, anyone could think of that. Jack or Fred or Joe or Nat. Say, even Jane could think of that. So in his book, there's something that everyone can think of that's so obvious that even Jane, the female character, can think of it, i.e. girls are thick and boys aren't. He wrote, when people started to campaign, go, come on, you're taking some of the racism out, maybe put some positive female messages in. He said, these girls obviously have a lot of time on their hands to write these letters, and I think answering them would just be stirring up a female hornet's nest. He just seemed really annoyed by these extreme fringe women livers, that's what he called them, and described himself as a male chauvinist peeg.
He described himself as that?
Yeah, all my lines should never be changed, for I am a male chauvinist peeg, P-E-E-G.
So he acknowledged what he was?
And enjoyed it.
This day and age, he'd be congratulated for taking accountability for his actions.
Probably, yeah. He's probably get a special on BBC Three.
Do you know what? You know what, though? Like, teaching people how to read, like, Dick and Jane probably could have taught people how to read. When you look at kind of his contribution, I know it's special and magic and kids have the crack reading his books and all, but like they could have learned to read without him. He didn't, like, you know what I mean? He just taught people how to read in a fun way. He could have read in a boring way and not give them the airtime. That's my feeling.
I know, I agree with you. You need to learn the letters to read. He didn't teach people how to read. He wrote books that were easy, had lots of pictures.
And they are, let's be brutal, it's slightly falling out of fashion today, but he's still got the whole nation of the USA, most people who couldn't spell USA, a generation of them reading, Josh, so we should tear down the envelope one completely here. I mean, this is the show, it's supposed to be difficult. He was upset by his wife, said, obviously. In fact, he said, I didn't know whether to kill myself, burn the house down, or just go away and get lost. Turns out, banging Audrey Diamond was the solution. 8 months later, in 1968, Ted married Audrey Diamond, with whom he'd been having an affair before her lived there.
Yeah. God, he really did a number on her.
Right, we're at the end of our time, guys, so unfortunately I can't steal that. There's a interesting goodbye. There's a horrific bit at the end where you have to formally make a judgment. There's 3 of you, meaning we will know one way or other in a moment whether Dr. Seuss, Theodore Geisel, was evil or genius. Now, I realise everyone's got very annoyed and very 2021, but I must try and make it a little bit hard for you by remembering his impact on literacy in the USA was massive. He's probably largely responsible for literacy rates rising again. So he got poor kids of all colours, of all backgrounds, all over the world reading. That's not a small thing, and some of those people would have used those literacy skills to liberate and better their own circumstances. Put that on one side of the scale, along with weird racist cartoons. And I come to you, Joanne McNally.
Dr. Seuss. I know this isn't an option, but I'm just throwing it out there. I think Dr.